joined by Brian Sikowski, Perfect Games National Scouting Supervisor, courtesy of perfectgame.org, of course. I'm on like no sleep at all right now. Been a long grind the last few days. I'm sure Brian agrees with me there. But it was nice to get the first round done, get some of the fireworks out of the way. Still some exciting picks, I think, lay ahead of us here, especially as we go through the first 5 picks or so, in round 2. And then, we'll see how long we go with this. I don't know if I'll end up making it all 5 rounds. That might be a bit much, but we'll see. We'll hang in there. We got some other guests coming on besides Brian, sort of, drop in their firsthand accounts and information on everything. So should be a blast. Brian, I'll ask you the first question of the day. I know you tweeted this out before. What were you've had, not 24 hours, but close to it to sort of digest the picks. What were your favorite picks of day one?
I mean, you could go up and down the board with different levels of like how good of a pick I thought it was. But guys that stand out were the Rays taking Bitsko 24. I think that was, just we want the best guy. We're taking the best guy. And like, instead of playing games and money, this, that, the other thing. Like, so I like that. I think we had Austin Martin number 1 on our board. So for the Jays to get him at 5, you have to love that pick. And I do. I think that's great. I think an infield with him and Bichette and Guerrero looks pretty exciting. Or, him in center field, whatever. I thought that Soderstrom going at 26 was really, really good. I think he was like, the next guy up for like 6 different spots before that. So, there's a lot to like there.
Digging in a little bit on the Soderstrom pick, did the location, the landing spot surprise you a little bit? I mean, I know they always go upside. He's a California prep kid. I'm sure they got some eyes on him, of course. But I don't know. I wasn't expecting Oakland, I guess, to go so big. It was an exciting pick for Oakland there, and I kind of figured him to go college pitcher or somebody that was maybe signable at a lower number.
Yeah, I think just he kind of dropped out of nowhere. He was one of those guys that was seemingly in play on draft day all the way up to number 9. That's where we had him mocked. So I think he kept falling, and the number once he got to 26 wasn't outrageously high. So Oakland said, yeah, hey, we're gonna pay this dude in the first round and give him the money that he wants and go over our slot some to do it. But this is a guy we've identified. Yeah, so I think they got roughly a 15 slot value just in terms of where that dude's ranked in the class versus where they picked him, something like that.
Yeah, I think one of the other surprises too was probably, everyone thought Bitsko would drop. I certainly was sort of beating the drum on that all the way down to 30. And we sort of all figured with the first pick in the competitive balance round A that Baltimore would go way over slot. And they didn't. More than likely they didn't at all. There's a chance they may have been a little bit under slot. I guess, are we sort of attacking Baltimore wrong? And I had heard this, last night as well. Is there a chance that they're sort of spreading that money, not necessarily to go under slot or over slot at 30 or 39, that really they're going to spread that money out across a whole bunch of different picks?
Yeah.
I mean, they see a few teams do that today where they pull good players down to the 4th or 5th round and sort of, I know it's a different concept in terms of the draft, but sort of Hudson Head, one of those guys, and give them like a top 20 bonus,
Yeah, I think I think you're more on it with what you talked about first there, as far as there's kind of like a strategy that says, and I've heard NFL execs talk about it too, where, I'd rather have 3 second-round picks than a first, a second, and a third. And so you could be seeing, Baltimore doing something like that, where they're trying to grab as many roll 50 types or as many roll 55 types as they can, rather than trying to grab 2 who might be 6s and then a bunch of 3s. So you could see something like that in play here, where they're going to take a second rounder down into the 4th and a third rounder down into the 5th and be able to sign them because they've saved all the way. So we'll see.
And you're sort of the right guy to ask this question to. So I'll throw a couple of different names at you here that I think are in risk of either going back to school or making it to campus. I think probably the biggest one folks have talked about, whether it's right or not, Cole Wilcox being one, Jared Kelly being another. I know there's been some rumors that Cole Henry, JT Ginn could both be guys that go back to campus. And then I guess I'll throw out Blaze Jordan as well, being a guy that's, incredibly well known. There's better prep players still available, probably a handful, if not more. But he's the most well-known prep player, arguably, in the class, especially coming into the year. Reclassified, is he a guy that you think ends up getting drafted as well as some of these other guys? Or do you think, who makes the campus, who doesn't? I guess it's the easier way to say it, right?
Yeah, it's just man, like, honestly, it feels like I'm leaning towards like everybody you named getting to campus. And I could be, I could be way off on that. Like, I'm sure I'm not correct to say so, but like, that's just the general vibe I've gotten from talking to people this morning is like, just because those guys didn't go on day one, they're not dropping their prices is kind of what I've heard. And that could just be making its way to me via agents. And I'm now contributing to the misproliferation of information. Like, maybe that's what I'm doing, but I think that it's just that, like, none of these guys are willing to take a deal, or at least an aggressive one. And there's only so many teams who can reasonably expect to offer the type of bonuses that these dudes are saying they're not going to take less than. So yeah, it feels like these guys are going to school, like, really.
Yeah, one more I wanted to sort of piggyback on there, and a name that had a ton of first round buzz. I think, the week leading up to it, we had heard Clayton Beater out of Texas Tech mentioned in the teens. Is there a chance this guy has a number that potentially he gets back to campus? Or do you think that he's signable? I mean, I'm going to guess that he's one of these next 10 picks, but I guess you never know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, it's like, it feels like your guess is as good as mine there. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're just, yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I'm just like answering 17 different texts.
It's a Pepsi, by the way, guys. It's not a Red Bull or an alcoholic beverage. They were in the garage, so I grabbed one. You want me to say? People want to know what I'm drinking.
It seems to be some sort of beverage.
Yeah, it's a Pepsi. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for, like some sort of like copyright infringement on that one. But outside of spreading misinformation, like your InfoWars baseball writing correspondent, Four Loco. Ooh, that's good. I guess the big question is what's going to happen here at 38, 39, 40. We get the Tigers up, with their second pick, followed by Baltimore with their third pick, and the Marlins also with their second pick. So we have two teams here that have big bonus pools. Of course, Baltimore has a large bonus pool as well. Has already probably spent some at 30, and we probably have the pick coming up in a minute. But where do you think they go here?
Well, I feel pretty comfortable calling Dingler to Detroit. I put that out on Twitter a couple minutes ago. I wasn't like 100% certain, but wanted to put something out there before the draft to test myself, So, like, I went with Dingler. It looks like Jim Callis is saying the same thing, which obviously if Jim Callis says it, there's a certain level of confidence that inspires. And then the surprise is it looks like at 39, if Callis is to be believed there, if you're seeing that in Hudson Haskin, that would be fascinating.
I should have known that. I should have known that. I should have known that. I had a conversation this morning, and I was told that I had Haskin too low. I had him, I think, going to the Dodgers at the end of this round. And I had moved him up probably about 15, 16 picks in my mock. You can check. And it looks like he should have been a few picks higher. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. Former cold weather boy from Avon Old Farms up in Connecticut. And had a breakout season, of course, with Tulane. Really interesting prospect as well. But let's dig in a little bit on Dingler, because I know you're a Detroit guy. You were you were beating the drum on Dingler possibly being up there with Bailey as the potentially best catcher in the class. So let's go back to what we did in our video.
Hey, man, I mean, I'm pumped. Like, as far as a guy that I think is a great value at pick 38 here, and it's my hometown team. I am, I think, justifiably concerned about their limited track record developing bats that need developing. But in the same vein, I thought Dingler was a no question first rounder. I think the catch and throw is pretty close to elite. I think he's a really good athlete. I think that even when the receiving element of the game is taken away, he's going to thrive because of how well he throws. And I think there's a bunch of juice there that he's just starting to tap into. So yeah, I mean, for a team that has swung and missed on high round catchers in recent years, like I really like this one, and maybe I'm going to get burned again. But yes, I'm all I'm all in on the Dingler train.
Nice. Yeah, that is an exciting pick. Good for you. I like it when people actually like their team's picks. Unlike me on this night when I had a panic attack over Nick York. By the way, big shots out to Eddie for his hilarious video that he put out today on my initial reaction to Nick York going and not Pete Crow Armstrong, who I very much wanted.
No.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so it looks like we're still going to be sitting here for a minute. Are we still not going? Like, honestly, I don't know if we officially have Dingler in or not. I thought they showed him, but it's not on the broadcast yet. So
okay.
We're still sitting. We're still waiting. It says the pick is in, so it should be once they come back from commercial break, and then we'll see what happens with Baltimore. So this is what happens when it's not just on MLB Network and it's just a bunch of draft nerds watching it. They actually put commercials into this because it's one of the few sports things they can broadcast. So it's going to take significantly longer with every pick than it probably ever did previously, right?
Oh, Dingler in. All right. Coach Sack rides again. Feeling good about that one, boys.
Not too bad.
I'm still like, it took me a while to fall asleep last night because of that, the Ed Howard fiasco. And I've heard it doubled and tripled down on that. I wasn't technically that far off. But regardless, I was wrong. And I tossed and turned, man. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
It was like,
I'm sorry. Like, I felt bad. I felt bad. So
it was that pitch you just missed, man.
Like it's 3-1 and you get one down the plate and you pop it up. And you're like, come on.
You should have executed that.
I felt like I took a good swing and the catcher's like waiting for it. Like, okay.
All right. So Dingler is finally in. They finally got to the podium. They've announced Dylan Dingler. So we're on to 39. And it sounds like the smoke here is Hudson Haskin. And I have to say that I can confirm it. I think that's the pick. If it hasn't been posted yet, it's definitely the pick. I'm not going to argue that one whatsoever. But what are we thinking at 40 then with Miami coming up?
I had heard them with Fulton earlier today as an overpay. I don't know if that's how the veracity is. I'm certainly not calling the pick, but I heard him with them with Fulton.
Oh, I wish I had the volume on in the MLB broadcast because they just had Harold Reynolds on screen doing his comp on Dylan Dingler. So I can only imagine what this comp
was. Johnny Bench, baby.
For Johnny Bench, Buster Posey. This guy reminds me of Ray Fosse.
Pudge Rodriguez.
Exactly. Ivan Rodriguez. He's going to be every, possible a Hall of Famer of all time. But all right. Well, so we're hearing Fulton, potentially at 40. He had been rumored potentially at 39. I think that's even what I had mocked out. Makes a lot of sense here. Talk to me a little bit about Fulton. I assume he's a guy that you've seen. Not a lot of folks have because he's injured.
Yeah, he came to National and was so good. Like, we'd seen him on the trail for a while, like as an underclassman. He was a known guy. Once upon a time was committed to Vanderbilt as a part of this class. But yeah, it took a jump at PG National. It was all of a sudden cleaner and smoother and up to 92, 93. And, it just looked right. It's that classic projection lefty. He could really spin a curveball. And for as good as Nate Savino was and got, Fulton had a better breaking ball at National, just on and of itself. Obviously Savino threw harder, but regardless, like, Fulton was up there with him, is what I'm saying. Ended up having a really good summer in general until the injury. I think if he's healthy, you're looking at that dude, up with where Abel was and right there, no question.
And that was what I was going to ask is, had there not been an injury, how much of a discount is it? I mean, you think this is a 30 pick discount almost from potentially where, he could have gone?
I don't know if it's going to be that much in terms of like financials. Like, I think he's still going to get like paid like a first rounder. I just don't know if it's going to be, where he would have gone necessarily. So, call it more of like a 10 to 15 pick cut, I think, if you wanted to look at it that way.
which makes
just
sense.
Just a guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially when you look at just the nature of the draft, especially at the top being incredibly college heavy, that makes a lot of sense. So we're jumping off of that. The pick is in on Hudson Haskin, outfielder out of Tulane. So there you go. Another interesting player there. I don't know if Baltimore fans are going to be incredibly excited about the players they've drafted so far, but it's a solid class. What's your opinion thus far on these first 3 picks to Baltimore?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting guys that seem like they're big leaguers. You know what I mean? Like it's just like Kerstad at 2. I know is not the sexiness of the other things, but that guy's a big leaguer. He's probably an above average regular big leaguer. And for a team that valued Nick Markakis as much as the Orioles did, like that's not a comp, but in terms of not being a superstar. But anyways. It's I think that they're getting a good player here in Haskin. Westberg is a guy who's got tools. If they think they can help the hit tool, then that's a big jump. That's a guy who's an everyday regular too. So like I don't know. Like you could nitpick. There's still time left for them to do something really creative where it all makes sense. It's just not coming right here quite yet.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where there's certain picks that you can go one way or the other on. This seems early on Haskin, but I'll reserve judgment there. And certainly he could have been a guy that had was a huge breakout this season. Certainly seemed like it was trending that way early. We sort of missed a lot of those and some of those climbers. A guy like Cody Hosey, wasn't even on the Cape the summer before, going to the Dodgers. And he was a guy that moved up throughout that season just due to performance. And I think, he potentially could have been one of those guys. So interesting. Haskin, they're at 39 to Baltimore. So 40, we're thinking that it's Dax Fulton still?
Yes, I'm pretty close to just saying that that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Then 41, we're moving on to
It's Fulton, confirmed. Yeah.
All right. So there we go. We're putting them in before the regular broadcast. This is fun. What do we think about 42 with the Royals and the clock?
41. Come on.
41. Sorry.
Come on.
It's only right in front of me.
It's details. Okay. Clean it up. Anyways, with the Royals at 41. We have fun here.
42, it would have been the best. If you came back with 42, it would have been.
We have fun here on the Prospects Live draft chat. Anyways, yes, I think KC can get creative. We'd heard them linked to Mason Wynn before. I wonder if this is a spot for him here. I don't say that with any knowledge, but yeah, I mean, I'd look for that maybe. Tommy Mace, maybe? Could we see Tommy Mace here? I don't know. That was just off the top of my head.
Huh.
I don't know. Just guessing.
It wouldn't surprise me. I want it to be Mason Wynn. I want the pick to be Mason Wynn, honestly, but it probably won't be. So there you go. And all right, they still got a minute on the clock, so we should have that pick coming in shortly. Don't have any early indications thus far, but
we are on the draft tracker with Fulton at 40.
Yeah, exactly. So we're right on the nose, and we got a minute here until we jump on to the next pick, and we should have some other guests jumping on as well relatively shortly. Casey's announcing now, so we'll have that pick just within a minute. I didn't realize how difficult it is to fill air with just 2 people on air, so I'm just going to talking like
we could just keep giggling. Yeah,
I should have had way more Red Bull for today than I had for last night. That was strategic.
Last night was pure adrenaline. We didn't need the Red Bull.
I don't know. Diego Solares might end up becoming a Royals fan after this pick. Ben Hernandez.
Oh my! Hello.
Yeah, Ben Hernandez. That is exciting.
Wow.
I dig that. Mason Wynn, fine, whatever. Ben Hernandez, I'll take it. Talk to me a little bit about Ben Hernandez.
Yeah, it's change-up oriented. It's a right-hander. He's good size, good athlete. Nothing overwhelming there in terms of physicality. Strike thrower. Found some new velo this spring, a little bit before the shutdown. He was grabbing some 94s and 95s rather than the more 89, 92 he pitched at last summer. Really, really good changeup. Probably the best prep changeup in the class. Swing and miss. And what we're waiting for there is the breaking ball to come along. He showed some strides with it this spring, but that's what the kind of the hinge of the profile there is if he can develop the spin of that breaking ball more consistently and get that to an average pitch or so, then I think you start to see some real starter upside there.
Very good. I was just about to burp right as I started talking, so that's always fun. All right, so we have Toronto on the clock next. What direction do you think the Blue Jays go here? Obviously, Martin, I'm assuming probably is going to be over slot at 1 even, or slot. But we know the number was big, so could they try to underslot somebody here?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they could. I'd imagine that they're going to have to pay Austin Martin, like you said. I don't know if maybe one of the college arms who maybe we'd heard something about a medical for, like maybe we start to see something like that at a super discount. I don't know. Their second round pick seems to be like it's one of those blind spots where I don't think I've even heard their name today, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, well, the pick is coming in apparently now, according to Michael. So we should have that shortly, which should help us move along here. Any other rumors you've heard, let's say with like Pittsburgh or San Diego? And does one of our favorites eventually go here in Chris McMahon?
Yeah, McMahon's name I'd heard from like 4 different sources like today, as far as like a guy who was going to be pretty quick off the board. So I don't know if that's necessarily changed. Like I wasn't given specific teams to watch out for. It was just like a more, we don't really know if McMahon's going to be there for us, like type things. So I think that's a guy who's got to go soon. I don't know, man. Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, I know I had mocked him out to, I think, Pittsburgh earlier in the day. Logan Allen was another name that was potentially mentioned. So interesting stuff. And it sounds like we have Chris Blessing on as well. So Brian, if you got to potentially jump off for a little bit before you jump back on, thanks for joining me early on here. And
appreciate it, man. I will be back soon. Absolutely.
Get some more draft dope for me. All right.
I'll do my best. I'm gonna do my best.
That. I'm starting to get a little itchy, little Tyrone Biggins over here,
No problem. I'll do my best.
Perfect. All right.
Chris, hey, what's up?
Welcome.
Gotta fix this. I don't want to look lame.
And the pick is in immediately. Chris CJ Van Eyck goes to the Blue Jays at pick 42, right-hander out of Florida State. Any thoughts on Van Eyck?
I do. If you give me like 5 seconds, can you delay?
I can give you 15 if you want.
15 seconds would be great.
Day 2. This is very relaxed. We're very relaxed here. No video, just some graphics. We already have Seattle announcing, so
okay.
Come on, man. You accelerate everything. So what are your thoughts on Van Eyck? And we'll catch up on Seattle in a minute.
Yeah, so like a few other of the college arms in the draft, this is more polish over stuff. He kind of looks like a future mid-rotation starter. I'm saying like a 4th starter, 3/4 delivery. Fastball's a little bit below average, low 90s. Slider sometimes flashes plus, but like overall, it's not the most exciting pitch, stuff that you would normally see. It's kind of what you start seeing in the 2nd and 3rd, 4th round. I cover mostly fantasy guys, and like for us, this guy's not as exciting as some of the other college arms that are still available.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a guy that was a former Mets pick, had been heavily associated with them pre-draft. But yeah, not a bad grab by Toronto. They need some more depth, just in terms of starters within their organization. They obviously dealt a couple of them last year. So yeah, it's sort of, acquired a few last year, but it's interesting to see how that pick will play out long term. But they do need some arms there, and I'm excited to get some looks at him. In Double-A New Hampshire, probably, if I'm lucky, in 2021, if we're allowed back at games, and he accelerates quickly enough out of Dunedin. But we shall see. Deloach, by the way, Zach Deloach.
Yeah. Did you see?
Yeah, over to Canada.
Did you see him in the Cape?
I did. I
Yeah.
got to see a little bit of Deloach in the Cape. We know the Mariners like Cape performers, so that's not a
Yeah.
huge shock there. Maybe a few picks higher than I thought potentially he would go. Similar in terms of profile to Daniel Cabrera. Probably maybe a little bit better defensively, but I don't even know if I think that's true. Both corner outfield guys, sort of hit tool over power. Personally, I thought, Cabrera projected for a little bit more power. There might be a little bit better hit tool on Deloach, but both guys that sort of, stuck out to me and very similar type players. So it's not a huge shock there that they sort of go in that range. But
I'm in total agreement there on that point. We're talking about good college hitters. So this is kind of the part of this draft where you see good college hitters, and this is where opinions from club to club kind of change on guys for the viewers. Like, one team is going to be like, oh, I like him, I think it projects. And the other team might just say, good college hitter. This might not project into anything very meaningful. But with any of these guys, they have the pedigree. They're from the SEC and good baseball programs. But then again, you got to hit for power if you're a corner outfielder, and that's a thing that, especially with Cabrera, I've watched more film on Cabrera than I have with Deloach, and that's my main concern with Cabrera. So if you're saying they're similar guys,
I guess I think the question mark around both of them is how much power do they hit for as sort of hit tool first corner guys. I'd have to take a look, and I'd have some conversations off air with maybe some analysts that have, more swing data on the two players and compare and contrast just in terms of, bat path and, what their, consistent launch angle is and what the variation is between the two players. And if there's a lot of consistency there, which sort of projects for a hit tool, but also potentially power, and just sort of see what the numbers are and how they project out. I assume a lot of the times when we feel like it's splitting hairs, maybe it is. The other side of it is there might be some, a team has some particular data or, a particular style or whatever that they're looking to chase. So there you go. Not an awful pick though. So we have Pittsburgh coming up at 44.
And Ray Butler
joining us for Pittsburgh.
Welcome.
What's up, Ray?
Mazel tov.
Yes, sir. How are y'all today?
Doing well.
Not too bad. You must have a baby on the way in a few days now, and we're changing the topic off of the draft, apparently.
Yeah, anytime now. Bags are packed and in the car.
Oof. So this could happen. Rock and roll. This could happen on air.
It could happen like right now, and I'd have to leave, and we're zooming off to the hospital. Yep.
All right, Ray. Well, let me kick it over to you first. Any thoughts on 44 here with Pittsburgh? They're going to be announcing in a second.
I think they go Jared Jones because they just did.
Oh, all right. There you go.
I
guess my feed is a second behind.
Are you watching ESPN2 or MLB Network?
I have MLB on
me too.
through my computer. So yeah,
I think that's a progressive pick for a new front office.
Absolutely,
it's something that they can that excites me. If I'm a Pirates fan, I'm really excited about that pick. Can kind of build on to some of the pitching talent that they're beginning to kind of stockpile. I've been really high on Jared Jones throughout the process. Someone who you can really project physically. He's a really good competitor. And he's someone who is continuing to develop his secondary pitches, someone to be really, really excited about.
Let me ask you, do you feel vindicated that he was taken before Jared Kelly?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. This is the confirmation bias that I needed. For sure.
You need to take a lap. Like around the table, take a lap, a victory lap. Oh, he won't do it. Come on, man.
No.
If this was a fantasy broadcast, I think you'd have to go shirtless, according to Anthony. I'm not sure if that's 100% fact or not, or law. But Chris, what are your thoughts on the pick with Jones? I had him very heavily rumored between Los Angeles and Chicago, and that's the Cubs.
Okay.
So they stole him away from two rivals, I guess.
It's a shrewd move. I mean, I think you've got a farm system that has some exciting tools in it, but maybe not so much the high end pitching type prospect. I mean, you try to get as many of these guys as possible. If you're the Pirates, they have had organizational success. I don't know how many of the player development types are still there, but they've had organizational success developing pitching like this in the past. So, I don't really have anything else to really add about Jared Jones. I think you guys pretty much covered it. Thanks, Yancey.
Yeah, we had to give him a shout out. I'm glad somebody did it. Somebody had to put up the Eddie comment. He wants to know if Nick York went there. Yeah, he did. He's got the best hit tool in the class, according to Tim Corbin. He knows hit tools with high school players. All right, so I'm going to go off of that and say that I should have had him in my top 100 just for that reason. Even if he was outside of it at like 125, and I that was the head scratcher, is that it wasn't even somebody that was like within my top 100. So tells you what I actually know at the end.
I mean, I talked to a team source with a that had knowledge of their board, and like they had him on their board, but like they didn't have him where Boston drafted him.
Yeah,
it was a head scratcher for that draft room.
Padres
rumors they saved $1 million at slot, so
good for them.
We'll see. What were you gonna say, Ray?
Padres just went Owen. I think it's Owen Casey.
Oh yeah, from I'll say
Notre Dame,
Canadian national team.
Yeah,
Notre Dame high school. I think like Canada someplace.
Is that our first Canadian player?
Is that our first Canuck? I think it would be.
I believe so.
Because the other guy is David. I'm going to butcher this one. Calabasas. I think it is. Another center fielder. Keith Law was incredibly high on him, if I remember correctly. Matt, welcome to the broadcast.
What's up, man?
Now, I'm not outnumbered by people not from Prospects Live, so I'm glad.
I am on childcare duty today, so I will be in and out. But I figured I'd pop in.
Anyone have anything on Cassie?
Saw him at the Super 60 event. Saw him at the Super 60. I think he's projectable up the middle player, probably center fielder more likely than shortstop. But I'm kind of surprised he went. He must have reclassified late because for a draft kid for this year to go to the Super 60 like that, where it was majority of the class was kind of the uncommitted and probably guys that we're going to see in the 4th, 5th round. He's the highest guy drafted. Him and Ben Hernandez in the same round.
There you go. Yeah. Very interesting. So you did get some live looks at him.
Yeah.
Rockies are up next at 46. Chris, I'm going to kick it over to you. You have any inclinations here with the Rockies? I'm going to throw one out there. No, the pick isn't in yet, right? Or is it on? Is it announced?
The pick is in, but they're not announced.
Relief pitching prospects. I feel like he's just a shoo-in for there, but maybe I'm completely wrong.
Chris McMahon, Colorado?
Come on.
I don't wish that on Chris McMahon.
I don't either, but
but I mean, they need to get pitchers somehow, right?
I've seen him live, so I can talk about him.
There you go.
Well, granted, it was like his freshman year, but
how much did he weigh? Because like the picture that they have,
he came in relief. Chris McMahon.
Hey, Chris McMahon to the Rockies.
Yeah,
he was.
What a call.
He was skin and bones. I mean, that was pretty much what he was. Let me see if I can pull up the scouting report real quick from when he was there. He wasn't throwing as hard as what he's throwing now, which I believe he was working like mid 90s this spring. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was. Like 95, 96, maybe might have touched 7s, but 93 to like 95.
Yeah, I
like on that fastball.
I saw him come in relief in a blowout. Actually, last year's I think it was the same game I watched. Last year's 5th, 6th round pick. Xavier Curry just like absolutely dominate Miami.
There's a blast.
But yeah, that he was skin and bones. But he had really good mechanics, and he was getting it up there. And I actually marked him down as somebody to keep an eye on because when you're at a college game, some of those guys that they throw out, everybody kind of figures a lot of the college guys are highly recruited people, and they're really not with the amount of scholarships that are offered. And for the most part, like, he had some interesting things. All he needed really was power and size, and it all came together this year.
So there you go. Ray, I'm going to kick it over to you as we're going to keep it rolling here. White Sox, any ideas on where the White Sox could potentially go here?
As much as I hate to say it, I've heard that they've been fairly connected to Jared Kelly. They were lightly connected to him all the way up to the top half of the first round. Obviously, they went with Crochet. They're making their pick right now. Jared Kelly.
Is it?
Yep, Jared Kelly to the White Sox.
There you go.
It's a good pick.
Congratulations, Danny. I know Danny is jumping around wherever he's watching this, he is having a blast now.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick by the White Sox. I had a feeling he might get to campus. I know Brian and I had talked a little bit about that prior to the show starts. Yeah, the draft actually starting today. That was one of our first topics. But so Kelly, I mean, how signable do we think Kelly is, Chris?
I actually think he's pretty signable. They wouldn't be taking him at this point right now. He actually, and I told Ralph this earlier this week, watching video of him, he reminds me of Michael Fulmer at the same point of development. Very similar guys at this point of development. Hopefully it works out a little better for Kelly. I know that Fulmer's had some, arm difficulties the last few years. Like, I don't really care. I mean, because of being so prospect heavy type of coverage that I do, I don't really pay attention too much to the MLB stuff.
I like that comp. Fulmer developed that curveball kind of late too.
Yeah, and I saw Fulmer when he was 2011, I think, with Savannah, and just watching the video, I actually went back to my YouTube video of him in 2011. I was like, yeah, man, this is pretty. I actually might have gotten that, and I think he got taken around the same point in the draft too, if I recall. So, good job, White Sox.
Matt, do you think they have the player development to sort of bring this guy to the next level? I know I've heard great things about their scouting and,
yes,
the guys that they do identify, a bunch of different reasons for that. But just in terms of player development, is this a good org for, a prep arm like this?
Not really, no. I'll just put it nicely. A couple prominent pitchers on their organization. The guy that emerged as their ace this year, and then a guy that had Tommy John that might be their future ace, both went outside the organization for substantial help. So that's not a great sign. They do a good job of keeping pitchers healthy traditionally. Mm-hmm. I will say that. But that's not exactly the same as development. So I'll say no on the development.
And the pick is in for Cincinnati
Christian
at
Roa.
48. They went with Christian Roa from Texas A&M. So a couple of Texas A&M boys going here in the second round. Kind of an interesting pick. Ray, I'll kick it over to you. Any thoughts on Christian Roa? He's been sort of a late riser for me.
If you scout the statistics, especially this year, not a whole lot to really look at. I think his ERA was close to 6. We really haven't had an extended look at him from a taking the ball every 5th day kind of standpoint. I think if you look on most draft boards, this is going to be considered a bit of a reach. But I mean, obviously, organizations know more than we do. So, as the Red Sox proved last night,
I'm an outfielder. Just want to correct myself. I said it and was like, ooh. But all right. So we'll keep moving on here with pick 49 to the San Francisco Giants. Matt, any thoughts? Or is the pick already in? Because I apparently have a late broadcast here.
It's not in as far as what I'm seeing, but it is right now. Just flashed to yellow. I don't know who the pick is. I'm gonna guess college starter. It seems to be their wheelhouse.
Is Clayton Beater finally gonna go?
That'd be a good pick. That'd be a good fit. If Beater would be.
Your son agrees.
He does. He's getting a little boisterous over there, getting a little loud. But yeah, he liked Beater. Let's see. It's about to announce it right now.
San Diego State.
I wonder what they announce him as.
Casey Schmidt, huh? I saw a lot of Casey Schmidt last summer on the Cape with Katuitt. Played a ton of third base.
Third base announced him as.
Yeah, pitched a little bit in relief. I have been heavily on beating the drum that I think this guy's a third baseman in the pros and not a relief pitcher. Other than, maybe, the odd inning here and there. Maybe he's a guy that sees like 9 to 10 innings throughout the year. I think he's an everyday third baseman. He's great defensively, obviously has the arm there for the hot corner, but he's pretty good at the plate as well. Good plate approach, maybe some tweaks in terms of the bat path and where he holds his hands, but he consistently made good hard contact. Mostly gap sort of doubles power at this point, but I did see him pop a couple. But he's good, good tough at bat, really challenged, whoever he faces. And he's kind of the same thing in the mound, but it was more like 89 to like 91 with sink and sort of a loopy breaking ball. So, I think he's a fringe reliever, but, honestly, as a third baseman, I think he's a pretty good prospect. Chris,
he's probably one of those guys where if your team is getting blown out, he's probably the guy that comes in and cleans up. Yeah, he's that guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think he kind of fits that role. Chris, do you have any thoughts on Schmidt?
No, I'm having some technical difficulties right now. So
it's all right. We got a baby crying. You're having technical.
Yeah, I'm trying to mute my mic, but
I'm trying really hard to make it sound like I'm saying Schmidt with a C and an M. It's a tough one, and we have the Rangers on the clock now at 50. Matt, do you think they're going prep here? They're going to go college.
I would assume prep because I'm thinking they might have got some savings with Foscue popping them a little early. It's hard to say who at this point, but I would lean toward prep. Maybe they'll go prep back. Maybe like a Kevin Parada or a David Calabrese. Those could fit nicely.
Interesting. I agree. Before we get the pick here, it looks like it is in, so I'll probably cut you off in a second, Ray. But what are your thoughts on JT Ginn? Do you think he's getting back to campus? I know you are a MSU alum yourself.
Yeah, I would assume so. I assume now that him, Cole Wilcox, and Cole Henry are all going to make it back. It's just kind of my thought now.
Yeah, this far in.
Yeah, I would assume so. And we don't even know if Ginn is really going to be ready for the start of next season. I know that, of course, Tommy John rehab has accelerated so much in recent memory, but he didn't have the surgery until like March or April. So it'll be really interesting to see, if he is going back one more year to try and improve his draft stock, will he even get a full season in Mississippi State? That's something we really don't know yet.
All right, we're still waiting on that Texas pick, I believe. We've got a double commercial break here.
I don't want to live in the past, especially with a draft that's going kind of really, really quickly. But I want to kind of piggyback on what Matt said about Jared Kelly. Jared Kelly needs to improve the quality of his fastball, in my opinion. It's not going to miss many bats. It kind of leans more on horizontal movement than vertical movement. The White Sox aren't really the organization to really improve that. And, the second thing with Jared Kelly is he has to develop that kind of a viable breaking ball of some sort. So I don't really love the organizational fit, and that's exactly what Matt said.
Agree there. We still don't have this Texas pick in
Texas
as of yet. Chris, are you back with us yet? Or are you still having some?
Yeah, I'm back. As good as it's probably going to get. I had a great setup yesterday. I was in the office, but like my wife works from home, so I can't really take that right now. She works for a company that's mostly based on the West Coast, so she's still working in the other room. So it's just a little rough setup that I have. So
no worries.
We're working with it. We're gonna have fun with it until I can. Someone did ask what hat I'm repping. I think it was Yancey. It's just fishing gear. When you're a scout in the stands, you want to blend in, and you don't want to have anything that shows an allegiance to anybody. So that's what I've done.
Rangers going Evan Carter.
I have a pick here. Way off the board, guys. Evan Carter, a prep bat from East Tennessee, guys.
Northeast Tennessee. That's not even my area.
Johnson City, Tennessee. Have you gotten any looks at Evan Carter?
No, I haven't.
And you're not far from Johnson City. Now,
I'm 3.5 hours away. I'm pretty far away from there.
Ray, you coach baseball, high school baseball in Tennessee. Are you
on literally the opposite end of and horizontally leaning state? No,
grasping at straws. Matt, you've seen high school baseball before. Have you seen Evan Carter? This is the Nick York of the second round. Apparently.
Yeah, this is the first prospect that is not on Mason McRae's big board.
Wow. Yeah, this is a Duke commit, by the way. Yeah. He's pretty far off the board here. Looks like we lost Matt. No big deal. Obviously a big deal.
He's actually from Elizabethton, Tennessee.
Elizabethton.
Yes. That's the home of the Elizabethton Twins it's probably not their home anymore, but it was. So there you go.
Hometown of Dallas Cowboys tight end Jason Witten.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
I do think it's interesting. He was announced as an outfielder. I think quite a few people thought he would be classified as a pitcher. I know some of that is just nuance, but I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that is that was the biggest shock thus far. Taking a look at, I mean, I don't even have him. Once again, he's not on my big board either. So I wonder how much of an underslot that was. To be honest with you, that is a wild pick. That's way off the board. I'm totally on tilt now after that one. I don't even know what to think. Where do we think is going to happen with Chicago at 51?
Like you said, they were really connected to Jared Jones. I thought this would be a really good landing spot for him here. Now that he's already off the board, but Ed Howard in the first round, I could see him going. There's still plenty of college pitching on the board.
There's a lot of college pitching on the board.
It's going to last for a few rounds, so it might last all the way through. I mean, that might be a story. If this, there might be some juniors that
Cubs go Burl Caraway.
All right, I knew it would be around here. I just thought it would be the Rockies who would take him. So not a bad pick. That's a guy you could streamline the bullpen right now, and I think he kind of fits their MO of, they have a lot of sort of nasty relief prospects, guys that have been matriculated to the major leagues the last couple of years. Any thoughts, Ray, on Burl Caraway?
No, he was a prospect obsession of mine just because, there's been a lot of talk of someone like a Max Meyer or a Garrett Crochet who could potentially impact a big league bullpen later this summer. I don't necessarily buy into all of that, but I do really think that Caraway could play a role on a team. He's relief only, of course. Some really nasty stuff, doesn't always know exactly where it's going. But I could buy into him being serviceable in a big league bullpen later this year if we get a big league season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And all right, looks like that pick is in, so we're going to move on to the Mets. And I don't know. I guess my question, just because we kind of alluded to it before, is there are a substantial amount of interesting college pitchers here. We'll remove JT again because, like I said, there's a good chance he goes back to campus at this point.
Yeah,
what about guys like Logan Allen from Florida International, Tommy Mace from Florida, Kyle Nicholas from Ball State, a mid-major, but a name that was a big mover. Clayton Beater.
I think this is going to be Beater.
Okay. I think that makes some sense. Ian Seymour, another guy. I know he's been, heavily rumored with a few teams. He's, local to me. Nick Swinney, who's another guy that I think probably is better than a few arms that have already gone. And then there's a few college bats, guys like Daniel Cabrera, or even a Gage Workman. Definitely guys that are a little difficult as well.
Or it's going to be that ranked 183rd second baseman from some South Carolina school. That's my other pick. We won't know him, but it's going to be him. It's either Beater or him.
Man, Beater would be really good value here.
It really would.
Because he was rumored at some teams in the middle of the first round. So to get him here at 52 would be pretty nice.
You gotta go upstairs, Nolan. Sorry, buddy.
Hey, Nolan.
I want to say hi. I want to say that.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, buddy. Can you please go upstairs?
I know you funny. Lala.
Ooh, Mets go JT Ginn.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, exactly.
That's a big pick.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna drop off for a second, Matt. You can help me out here.
Yeah, we got it. JT Ginn, man. That's. I wonder what the price point is here, but that's
I wonder too. I think this is either the Mets saying we have the money to pay him, or the Mets saying, well, we got our first rounder paid for. What's the loss of trying to get a pick next year?
kind of the reverse of what they did last year.
Yeah, let's try to go. Let's try to get the best guy that we can possibly get, and get somebody that's that. I'm actually quite surprised. I didn't think the Mets had the guts to do this, but then again, I didn't think they had the guts last year. Bravo to the Mets organization for this, to be honest.
Yeah, just like if anyone knows too, he had Tommy John surgery, I want to say in March or so. Yeah. So even if there was, Ray, Mississippi State guy, you would know. But there's with whatever's going on this year, he's definitely not going to pitch anyways. Maybe be the full go for spring training next year, I would assume.
Yeah,
if he had it in March,
he can work out with Noah Syndergaard in Port St. Lucie this year. Maybe they'll go to the bowling alley and kind of hang out and maybe meet some girls. I don't know. I'm just saying there are better places to rehab than Port St. Lucie. The hate mail can come in. It's just not a fun place.
Well, it's probably better than where I'm at. So
yeah, but you're not developing. You're married. You have children. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I got you. But any thoughts on JT Ginn, Ray?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about kind of if the Mets are able to ink him, that's a really good start to their draft. PCA last night, and then JT Ginn, who, if he is more signable than we were kind of anticipating the moment he was picked, that's a pretty good start for the Mets.
Yeah, you've got to actually think that if they do sign him, they're going to go senior for every pick. Yeah. Remaining third, fourth, and fifth round. So
last year they went Brett Batty, Josh Wolf, and Matt Allen, which was a big ticket in the third round. It's kind of fun to see this year, kind of Pete Crow Armstrong and JT Ginn. Those are really nice names.
Yeah,
build your drafts around. Milwaukee pick is in. I'm gonna guess Prep Bat, but I'm gonna see. Let's see what we got.
Freddie Zamora.
Okay, shortstop from the University of Miami. Dealing with Achilles injury, if I'm not mistaken on that, but kind of missed a full season. But this shutdown we didn't get to see what he's got in the tank with the shutdown coming back. But have you seen Zamora, Chris?
It's been a minute. I just remember his defensive skill, really. Not really much else that kind of stood out when I saw him. This is a lot like the last pick in last night's portion of the draft with the kid from Arizona State whose name is escaping me right now.
Williams.
There you go. Thank you. But that's I've seen him, but it's
more upside here, but more risk because of external factors and injury, I would say.
Yeah, and Leak is a little more polished at the position where I think a lot of Zamora it's athleticism.
He's still sticking at shortstop, right, Zamora? He's just
Yeah, I think so.
He's just kind of the guy that'll make a lot of the mental errors more than the physical errors.
Yeah, what I mean. Especially in that particular position.
Sounds like Starlin Castro type was a young kid.
And it's I had already heard this. Well, I'll get it double confirmed, so I'll throw it out there. Mason Wynn, congratulations. Matt Thompson, Ray Butler, really exciting player going pick 54 to the Cardinals.
That is fantastic.
Do we know what he's been drafted as?
For them, it won't. I don't know. I don't know what they would do.
Baseball player, Mason Wynn.
So I guess their draft's over.
I don't know. I have to be honest. I've heard that Wynn was incredibly signable.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
So
So
he was linked to Milwaukee in the first round.
I've heard the same thing.
And they did announce him as both a shortstop and a right-handed pitcher.
That's interesting. Cardinals haven't
Nice.
tried that, so I want to see how they do that. It's fascinating for me.
I mean, I will say this. Me and Matt are as harsh on the Cardinals from a developmental standpoint as anybody. I do think, though, as explosive and as athletic as Wynn is on the mound, maybe they are an organization that can kind of quiet some of that down. I penalized Wynn heavily in my evaluation process because of just the nasty head whack. I know it almost seems like it's crazy to say, but it's almost as though that he could be too athletic to pitch. Is almost kind of the vibe that I got, as explosive as he is. But maybe the Cardinals are that organization that can kind of quiet some of that down. It'll be interesting.
Well,
So apparently, Mason has some news that he has loose bone piece in his elbow and didn't play for the U.S. baseball team. That is unconfirmed, obviously, on our end, but interesting. All right. So there you go. You guys can revel in that pick and enjoy it. Number 55 on the clock, Washington Nationals. What are we thinking here, guys? Any thoughts on who's left?
Weren't they supposed to take Cole Wilcox last night? Sorry.
Yeah, right. That's another one. Everyone says, he's going back to school. It looks like he's been going back to school for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he turned it down in high school about at the same point in the draft. So my guess is he's going back to college. I could drive up. He lives about 15 minutes away from me. I could find out where he lives and
That'd be creepy.
just go ask him. I mean, I am a reporter.
You have to do it while you're still on here, though. You have to live stream you walking up to the front door and knocking on it.
So the college pitching continues to fall, though. I mean, a lot of it.
Yeah.
We thought Ginn wasn't going to get picked, and now he's the guy that's gone off the board. What do we think? You think Washington goes college pitching here? Do they go more upside? Is the pick already in? And I'm talking out of turn. Matt,
They're about to announce it.
all right. What do you got? What are your general thoughts then, guys? What do you think about where we're going?
Cole Henry.
Cole Henry. All right. So there we have it. A college pitcher. Guy that we thought potentially could be going back to school. Now isn't obviously out of LSU. I'll kick it over to Chris. Have you seen Cole Henry recently?
I have not.
No?
I never got to him during this period of time. I actually thought I had his start and just watched Cabrera bat, and that was about it. So and never went back. So
Ray, did you have an opportunity to watch a little Cole Henry?
The worry with him is he left his last start of the season. His velocity plummeted in his last inning. He was kind of seen in the dugout with the trainers after he had been pulled from the game. So that's obviously something to watch. He missed some time last year with some arm discomfort of some sort. Obviously, the stuff is really, really good. Fastball, curveball. He still, in high school, he had a gigantic head whack. A lot of his prep film, his hat is falling off basically every pitch he throws. It has gotten a little bit better at LSU. It's still not perfect. So kind of a risk-reward pick. But, the Nationals have a track record developing pitchers. And, Ralph, do you think Indians are on the clock? Do you think Blaze Jordan could be a name here?
It's one that I had heard rumored with the Indians. I think if he gets past here, we probably don't see him, and he ends up on campus at MSU.
A lot of people were on them taking Tanner Burns. I know Chris really can't say anything right now. Tanner Burns in the first thing.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. That's why I can't answer.
Continue. Right.
Sorry.
I just, a lot of people were, they mocked Tanner Burns to the Indians in the first round. They ended up getting him in the comp.
Yeah.
A lot of people were kind of thinking Blaze Jordan in the comp round. Maybe they pick him up in the second here at 56.
Yeah, I think it's certainly possible. That's the way it plays out. But yeah, I don't know. And just real quick on that Cole Henry pick. They love college pitching, man. It seems like you could set your clock and just, you'd know 40% of the picks in every single draft that Washington drafts, they're going to go with college pitching. And it makes sense in a draft like this. I think Henry's a really good steal to pull down here. There's certainly some questions just on the mechanics, but he's cleaned up a lot of that, and he's a player that's already shown the ability to improve. He's had some decent performance as well against high-level competition. I do like the fastball. I think he commands it pretty well, and the curveball as well. So, needs to develop the third pitch. We'll see what happens, but it's a good organization for him to land in as well. I know we're still waiting on the Indians pick. There's 2 seconds left, and the pick is in. They just got it in time. I don't know. The clock was running down. Are they going to auto draft? I'm not sure.
They're on commercial break for me, so we've got a minute or two.
Yeah, we got a talking head. I don't think I've seen anything come in. No one's texting me a pick, so we're just going to have to fill some more dead air here. I feel like it's like hurry up and wait, and then we get like 4 picks in a row in like 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Cleveland's had a pretty good draft so far. Wouldn't you agree, Ray and Ralph?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the combination of Tucker and Burns, and based upon what I had been hearing, just in terms of slot value numbers, it sounds like they were able to pull some cash too out of those 2 picks, and potentially attack the draft a little differently. Which I had said at the top, I think that's really what the theme's going to be here. You're going to see the teams with money and organizations that were able to get some guys under slot, move money around, potentially pull some really talented players into the 3rd round, or get some guys potentially to sign that maybe we thought were unsignable a few weeks ago. So should be interesting to see how that plays out. But Tucker and Burns so far, Ray, what's your opinion on that draft? And I guess we'll see where they go here.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think Burns especially is really good value in the comp round where they got him, and perhaps just as importantly, it kind of opens up some different avenues for them for the remainder of the draft. They've got a whole lot of options because they have a whole lot of their capital left. So I would suspect this could be a splash pick of some sort. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. It looks like they're about to go back on air now. Anybody
from Georgia that's draftable? Because they always like somebody from Georgia.
I don't know here. I really don't. I know that they had people out looking at Walker. I can tell you that. But I mean, he's already been taken. The Cardinals got him. So
I wanted to say Walkered away, but I didn't really want to do that. But I guess I just said it anyway. So not great. Matt's jumping back in. I think as you brought up Walker, he had to show back up.
I've been summoned. I'm in.
Babies, we got kids jumping on.
Sorry. If the baby's a problem, I'll get off. But Blaze Jordan, maybe, right?
Yeah, possibly. I guess we'll see what happens. Like I said, it's the hurry up and wait period, and then Tampa Bay, Oakland, and Minnesota will put their picks in all within like 25.
I'm seeing Logan Allen for Cleveland here, which would be confusing enough because I already have another
Logan Allen, Florida International.
So
that makes a lot of sense for him, though. I mean,
yes,
secondary command. It's technically, I think, a curveball slider, but a pitch that he commands really, really well. We know slider command's a huge thing for the Indians. Great changeup. When I saw him down the Cape, let me be like, he pushed. He absolutely dominated each time I saw him down the Cape, but he was like 86 to 88, and I mean like peak velocity was like 88 in the fastball. Granted, it's a period where guys are typically 2 to 3 miles per hour slower than they typically are. They're ramping down from the college season after a few weeks off, but still, that's my one concern. He's a pitchability lefty. Chris, do you have any thoughts on Logan Allen? Because
I honestly think Logan Allen's good. No matter which Logan Allen you're talking about, they're both left-handed, and I mean it's. I hope they don't get confused. Like one of them gets called up, and it was.
That's going to happen because they're both going to be Cleveland too.
Yeah, I know. This is crazy. But in all seriousness, they didn't really attack the starter market last year after Espino. I know they took Gaddis in the 5th round. Took a lot of college relievers later, so this is good for them. They need to restock their organization with starters, and especially starters with the high floors. They seem to excel at guys that have high floors. So do what you know: middle infield and high floor pitching. I mean, that's what they know.
We'll keep it moving here. Matt, what are your thoughts on, you helped me write the Rays top 30 here. Where do you think the Rays are going?
They are in the position where they can choose literally anyone they want. So it's
anyone left in the draft. They can pick right here. I mean,
right here, right? They can go back and they have athletes, they have pitching, they have
Ian Seymour.
They like to take guys linked to the Cardinals earlier than the Cardinals can.
Yeah, I had heard him linked to the Marlins. I had heard him linked to the Cardinals. I had heard Seymour linked to the Indians as well. Seymour's a guy that obviously lives like closer. I actually know where he lives now. Closer than Cole Wilcox lives to Chris. It's like a mile down the road. I saw him play high school ball. I remember when he was thrown 87, 88. Was player of the tournament here, won a state championship in Massachusetts. Threw a lot of junk, and just every year he got incrementally better. Looked a little bit better on the Cape this summer, but it wasn't the guy we saw in the spring. What ended up happening is Virginia Tech had actually made an investment in an analytical department. They hired a guy that had been on the team over at Elon for a few years. We know that they, with Kirby and some of these other guys were sort of on the precipice. A lot of that, sort of analytical study and developmental focus, and they hired him. They did some focus just in terms of his back leg and just sort of getting him to ride down plane. And what he was able to do is get a lot more backspin on the 4-seam fastball. He's a guy that kind of wavered between the 4-seam and the 2-seam previously. And I had heard a report from someone affiliated with a team that he was up to 96 miles per hour yesterday in that fastball.
Wow.
He had been like 89 to 92 even during the season. If this is a guy that's able to sit 91 to 93 with some of the analytical characteristics, what the actual spin radius was on that was one of the things that they were able to adjust just in terms of, really adjusting his sort of posture, because it is a violent delivery. It plays up the changeup. I think that is a 7 pitch. I think it's pretty much double plus. It's easy plus.
We probably
and the Rays aren't scared to take guys that have these sudden basically upsides all of a sudden pop up, and they've been pretty successful throughout the draft getting guys like this.
I mean, we should have seen it coming at John Doxakis last year and Graham Stinson, 2 lefty spin rate guys that are now Rays.
Athletics took Jeff Criswell.
I like Criswell. Big curveball, big frame. Can get it mid upper 90s. He was impressive in those little. I watched his start against Vanderbilt earlier this year. He was really impressive. The stuff plays out, and Oakland's a sneaky pitching development organization, so we can see what they can do there.
I kind of worry about command a little bit. And I gotta be honest, is there anybody on the board right now that you guys are surprised is still here?
No, not really. Now that we know Wilcox isn't signing, I mean that's the guy. But
Tanner Witt for me, he was someone who I kind of back into the first round. He was connected to some teams, so it looks like he could slip all the way. The Dodgers might have the option of taking him at 60.
You guys aren't shocked by Beater?
Oh yeah,
Beater.
Yeah, I think that's the big name that's missing from this right now. That you would think would be gone by now. You can see why Witt's still around. There's not that much finish on him. You're really going for an upside play on him. I talking about Jeff Criswell. I've heard so varied opinions about whether he's a reliever and whether he's a starter. You're either in one boat. There's not a lot of in between. So I'm assuming the A's took him as a starter. So like that That's probably. I guess I'm just assuming that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would imagine that they'll probably develop him as a starter.
Yeah,
until further notice. And
with Beater, with Beater, it's got to be a price tag thing, right? Because redshirt sophomore, he's got more leverage he's ever going to have.
Possibly. I'm just interested to see what some of these picks are coming up. We're almost at the end of the second rounds, and then we start to get into some of these competitive balance round B, and then the free agent comp round, and this extra money for teams to play with here. Maybe there's somebody that's going to underslot one pick in the third or something, and potentially bump a little more funds up there. And who knows? I think he's probably in play with a bunch of places. Still,
Twins take Alaric Solari from Tennessee.
Yeah, and once again, not a bad pick. I don't know if anyone you guys want to sort of jump on Solari. I saw a little of him down the Cape. Like the hit tool, needs to develop a little bit more power. Decent outfielder, I wouldn't say that he's necessarily like left field only. There's probably an outside shot that he's a right fielder. He's not a center fielder to me. Certainly not at all. But the bat plays, it's a good hit tool. Chris, any thoughts on Solari?
To me, it's kind of a stretch right now. I'm not really the biggest guy on him. I think that there is extreme tweener risk with his profile. I kind of figured he'd be like a third, fourth rounder. And I know we're getting closer to the third round, but I didn't even have him in my my discussion at this point.
Huh. There you go.
I think he can be a guy that's going to be better in fantasy than in real life.
Aren't we all?
Absolutely. I kind of project him more. I kind of think he's a left fielder. I do think, statistically, the power did start to pop a little bit before the collegiate season was canceled.
And he's young.
Young for the class, only 20. I'm really interested to see what the Dodgers do here.
And he was a JUCO transfer too, so he's a guy that's kind of risen a lot over the last year, and would have been, potentially big this year had he gotten a full season and an opportunity to, sort of impress long term. He wasn't great on the Cape. The numbers sort of back that up. And I mean, he's one of those guys. He's a left fielder, but he could probably play 50 games in right field and it wouldn't kill you. He's not going to be the worst outfielder in the world. But
Dodgers went Landon Knack.
All right, so the Dodgers decided to go underslot with the top senior off the board. We got our first senior. I'm sure we may see a few of those at the later part of the fifth round. But any thoughts on Knack? Blessing?
I don't have any. I don't have any. But he was actually a guy that I was going to check out in mid-March because he's kind of in my area. So. I never went back to that, obviously, because the game got canceled, the season got canceled. But yes, East Tennessee State. He was at Walters State. He was somebody that was on my list previously. When I say list, I get a list from a club to go cover certain guys and stuff. And this year, I kind of put together whoever was kind of coming close by. So he was a guy coming close by. It wasn't necessarily assigned to me, but he had been assigned to me previously. I never saw him.
Not many people did. He's one of the more bigger enigmas. I'm not even gonna try that word. Enigmas in the draft. So Ray, any thoughts on Knack or where we may be going here as we start the comp round in Miami?
He was a guy that made my obsession list just because it was fairly obvious he was going to be kind of a tactical pawn in this draft. An organization was going to draft him knowing that they could underslot to kind of open up the remainder of their draft, and that's exactly what the Dodgers did here at the end of the second round. Stuff ticked way up this year. Obviously, he's old for the class. I'm not in love with the mechanics, but, statistically, he was perhaps the very best college pitcher before the season got shut down.
Yeah, I think certainly the argument could be made there. That'll be interesting. What are your thoughts, Ray? Chris, on where we go here with Miami? I don't think the pick's in yet. So,
I don't really know. I was actually typing y'all something right here. I can't do two things at one time. So you might want to disconnect me for right now, and then I'll come back and I'll be better focused next time.
Thanks for hopping on, Chris. Not a big deal.
All right, I'll see you shortly.
Go bother Cole Wilcox, get a comment, and come back with some dope for us.
All right, man.
That's all we ask. All right, here we are. I got to tell you, I feel like I'm feeling way more time today. Maybe it's because we have less people on, but
yeah,
everything comes in at once, and then I'm going to wait like 20 minutes.
Last night was actually most of the time on draft night I'm coaching baseball or something like that. Last night was the very first round that I've ever been at my laptop tweeting stuff out, things like that, and it was absolutely frantic. I feel like I couldn't even feel my face for most of the first round. It just seemed like things were going extremely quickly. Did it feel like that on here all night?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I've covered it before, and it always seems like it's at an absolutely rapid pace constantly. I don't know. I feel like it seemed like it actually lasted a little longer last night.
Almost. I watch the NFL draft every year, so that's the kind of the draft environment that I'm used to, where they make a pick and then there's about a 15-minute layoff and then they make another pick. It's just not like that.
I almost want to say that maybe it took 3.5 hours for us to do 2 years ago when I was doing a different show. I think we did all the picks in the first round and then the second round right on through.
Oh, any thoughts on the Marlins here at 61?
No, I was gonna say that I tried a breakfast baconator for the first time this morning, and
how was it?
I don't know, it wasn't bad. It's a sausage sandwich with bacon on top of it. Maybe hollandaise.
I've heard good things about Wendy's breakfast, but my wife and I haven't tried it out yet.
It's not bad. It's not bad. We've moved on to Wendy's breakfast. It just shows you how important commercial advertising is, that we're discussing the commercials right now.
Oh, well, I feel like quite a bit of prep pitching went in the second round. Carson Montgomery still on the board. Alex Santos still on the board. Kyle Harrison, but Jared Jones, Jared Kelly, Dax Fulton, Mason Wynn.
Yeah.
Ben Hernandez. It was a pretty eventful round for prep pitching, and that was kind of my biggest question heading into today. Still just a massive amount of that demographic. Of course, still a ton of college pitching left on the board as well, but still a lot of really, really interesting players on the board as we enter the Comp B round.
Yeah, a ton. And even some noteworthy names too. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting what happens from here on out. I really think once we get into the third round, we're going to start to sort of separate out the contenders from the pretenders, just in terms of, draft slots and what people can do with what. So
Marlins take Kyle Nicholas, your boy.
All right. Yeah. Nicholas is a guy that had been a little rumored there. So not too much of a shock. Is that just coming in now? Because I'm still in the commercial break.
Yeah. Just announced.
Yeah. And I think we have Joe Doyle probably jumping on here in a second as well. But Nicholas was really exciting. His numbers weren't good down the Cape. I had caught a couple of his bullpens. I think I had some video up there as well. But, that we had thrown on YouTube at one point. But, tons of backspin on the fastball, a lot of natural spin. I don't know what the actual true spin was on it, but he was pushing 2,400 and 2,600 on the four seam, 94 to 96 consistently, touched 97 a bunch of times. He hit 7. Secondaries, he's got a slider, isn't bad. Throws a changeup. I think he might have had a curveball as well, but none of the stuff. I mean, slider was definitely the best pitch, of the three. But secondaries and command is really where you got to go with this guy. He's another guy that we saw one thing down the Cape, and then when he came back to it, a year later, or whatever, 9 months later, he was really pushing in the spring. Had it not been a shortened season, I really think he's a guy that probably could have, taken an even bigger step. But him landing here is, still technically a day one sort of pick in our, our sort of standard understanding of the draft. So I think it's a good grab here. Absolutely. Good move by the Marlins.
Yeah, Marlins start their draft. Max Meyer, Dax Fulton, and now Kyle Nicholas. Quite the haul.
Yeah.
A lot of the bigger sites have a lot of relief risk with Nicholas, but I feel like you're kind of higher than that, aren't you?
I kind of fall in line with the relief risk on Nicholas because it's relief type stuff for me, and it is a command issue. I've seen him kind of waver from start to start. He'll get in some messy innings as well. But him and Zach McKembley were the two best arms that I watched in Katuitt. Holden Powell was on that team. Sullivan, a few other guys that were interesting. But I assume McKembley's probably not far behind now.
Gotcha. All right, two things. I'm about to hop off, and the Tigers just took Daniel Cabrera. So,
all right, my other boy, Daniel Cabrera.
So if this is still going later tonight, I'll be more than happy to hop on. I've had a blast. My wife and I are about to go get some dinner. So
do it. Enjoy yourself.
See ya. What's up, Joe?
I think we're probably making it to the end, of, like the beginning of the third round, and then we're going to cut the sucker short.
All right. See y'all.
It's getting a little long. I kind of underestimated how tired I would be today.
Yeah, dude.
But, you know how it goes, Joe.
And you're on the East Coast.
Welcome to the show. We got Cabrera going to Detroit here. That's a big pick for us at 62. I'm a big Cabrera fan. But he's, probably left field only. It's hit over power. There's some questions about the bat path, and his ability to unlock power long term because he is leveraged a little bit. Joe, what are your thoughts on Daniel Cabrera?
Yeah, I really like Daniel Cabrera. I've got a Nick Markakis comp on him. He doesn't do anything that's necessarily flashy, or he's never going to jump off the page as one of the best players on the team. But he's going to give you a 55 bat. He's going to give you and then he's going to grit and grind, and he's going to give you 45 everywhere else across the board. He's a really good 7 or 8 hitter, and he seems like the kind of guy to me that plays 12 years in the bigs and, ends up with a career slash line of like 270, 340, 390. Just one of those good role players.
Well, I hope his slug is better than 390.
I don't know if it will be, is the thing.
I don't know, man.
He's not a good runner either, dude. He's not going to take the extra base, so.
Well, I don't know. He runs pretty well. Like, he runs well underway. He's not a guy like down the line that's a burner with a stopwatch.
Right.
But he runs well. He's instinctual. He can actually steal some bases too.
And that's kind of his MO. Is he gets more out of
power. I think he's a 20 homer.
Do you? I don't think he's going to get there, but I mean, we'll see. He's one of those guys that gets more out of the tools that he has than anybody else, just because he's a grinder. He's gritty.
And the White Sox already signed Jared Kelly.
No way.
That just leaked in. So Kelly was very signable. I guess he had a deal with the White Sox. That's a great pull. I got to be honest. Even if you have the knocks on, the characteristics of Kelly's fastball, he doesn't have a great breaking ball, whatever you want to throw out there. I think for me at least, yeah, that's a great.
I like it. I mean, if they can get him to even a 45 breaking ball, just another pitch that fits in the arsenal. So what do we got with the Cardinals here? The Cardinals got Tink Hence to the Cards.
Exciting pick.
Oh,
Matt
my God,
Thompson will be pleased on that one.
Dude, the Cardinals are cleaning up, and I don't know if they're going to take out like a fat loan or what their plan is, but
they have a big pool. They have a decent pool simply because they have 6-7 picks in the draft.
Yeah, right? Yeah, but
they're about $8 million.
None of these guys are cheap. I mean, Mason Wynn is going to be 2.4, 2.5. Yeah. You don't think so?
I bet you he's $1 million out of that, if not more.
Really?
Yep.
To get him away from Texas, huh?
Yep. Yep. Mason Wynn is very signable.
Yep. That's interesting. I mean, if he's only $1 million player, I'm stunned.
I don't know about $1 million, but I think 1.5. Probably gets it done. I don't know about 2.5. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 2.
I love this Tink Hens pick.
Wow, these are great. This is really exciting. Group.
Yeah, these are good. Now we got Seattle on the board. I'll talk more about Hens in a minute, but I would look for Anthony Servideo here or Kobe Mayo if it's a position player.
Ooh.
But I'm a little surprised that they haven't gone I'm surprised they didn't go college pitcher at 43. But I love Deloach. I've loved that guy since the Cape. We talked about it on the Phillies preview. He's a stud.
Yeah, we actually nailed a couple of picks in those. We probably did better than we did in our mock drafts on those.
I think everyone did better on anything than the mock draft.
Yeah.
The most I saw was somebody hit 5 out of 37. So let's see what Seattle took. Yeah.
I feel like I had a lot of the players right, but I didn't have necessarily the right draft pick. And I feel Connor Phillips is going here.
Interesting.
We got our first JUCO bandit off the board.
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine, I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about Connor Phillips, but I know Seattle was really heavy on the underslot option here. They've talked to Connor Phillips. They were talking to Blade Tidwell. They were talking to a number of guys that were going to save him a little bit of money. So we'll see where they go after this. But Ralph, do you know anything about Connor Phillips?
I don't. This is definitely one of those picks where I would have kicked it over to Brian as a big JUCO guy. I know he was considered the number one JUCO player, the number JUCO arm in this class, but we didn't have a chance to do a video on Connor Phillips. He's a guy that was kind of in the crunch at the end, and we didn't get a chance to record on him. I don't want to talk out of hand because I just, quite frankly, don't have a ton of information on Phillips. I didn't see him. If it was Beck Way, I got a few looks at him. And some other JUCO guys, but not on him. So, but like I said, ranked as, I think was McLennan, and I think, which is a powerhouse. And I believe he was ranked as the number one JUCO guy in the class by a bunch of sites.
Well, really quick, because we didn't really have the chance to talk about him too much. I think the Tink Hence pick needs to be really drilled in on a little bit. This guy has one of the easiest arm actions I've seen from a high schooler in a long time. You get like Yordano Ventura comps, you get young Pedro Martinez comps, which are obviously not fair, but it just the ease that he gets and the ease and the fluidity and how smooth it is coming out of his right arm. I love the pick, and I think he's going to be able to stay in a rotation despite his size. The Cardinals they're cleaning up.
Here's one for you. Cincinnati just announced Jackson Miller.
Ooh.
Out of J.W. Mitchell, a catcher.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Miller? I think he's a guy that is sort of synonymous with Hit Tool, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Jackson Miller, he doesn't have a lot of pop in his bat right now. 6 foot. I think he's 210 pounds now. It looks like he's a little bit bigger. There's really not a lot of holes in the guy's game. He's going to be able to stay behind the plate. He's got good hands, got good arm strength. I thought that he might make it to Wake Forest, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. The Reds have always been pretty active in going after Catchers in the draft. Kind of reminds me of the Tyler Stevenson pick from a few years ago. So this is a good pick. Yeah, it's definitely more geared to line drives, gap-to-gap hitter. Not a lot of home runs right now, but he definitely has another growth spurt in him. So you can't go wrong drafting a prep that's going to stay behind the plate just so long as you're patient with it.
Agree. And we're going to go to pick 72 here. So we'll keep on counting them down for a little bit longer. We've got a handful more picks, or a little bit more than that. So should be interesting as you track along. The Dodgers with another pick here at 66. I don't know if that's in yet, or if there's any inclination as to where
it's Beater.
They could be going. Beater, wow, that is a great fit with a guy that needs some tweaks in his arm action. Guy that was a big mover. We love the analytical data on the fastball. Wow, this is a great fit. I love Clayton Beater, the Dodgers. After what the Red Sox have done and the fact that Mookie is now in Los Angeles, I think I may be a Dodgers fan if I have to pick a team.
I tell you what, Clayton Beater is one of those guys that if the Dodgers have a 60-game run here, they could throw him in the back of the bullpen, and he could provide immediate value.
Like they needed more pitching depth, right?
They needed more. Yeah, this is the rich get richer kind of thing. I've personally always had Beater as a reliever. I have questions about the delivery. It is so over the top, but hasn't had the worst trouble with command in 2020. That was on the way up. Big fastball, big curveball. Really, if you want him as a reliever, he's going to be ready like now.
Yeah, I agree. Right, I agree as well. And I thought that's why we had him rumored potentially with some teams in the teens, simply because of he could be a guy that you streamline directly, and the talent's there. I mean, I think this was a first round grade guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'm out in an island saying that. A lot of people said it. I did my video with Brian, dug in a little bit on Beater. He was one of the first ones that we did because we felt he was one of the more underrated names in the class and one of the bigger movers, and a guy that really was in play on round one, that first competitive balance round A, but that wasn't the case. I don't know if the pick is in yet or not, but we have San Francisco on the clock in the first pick of the free agent compensation round.
Yeah, and you know what? It's important to note the Beater pick checks out after the Landon Knack pick, so kind of tie them all together there.
Yeah, that checks out 100%. It's a great point there. Simply they can go under slot on Knack and then move some of that money. This is the stuff that we're talking about. There's going to be a lot of interesting things for me to write up and yourself tomorrow as we dig a little bit more in on this draft and what happens in rounds 3 through 5.
I'll say this before they get these two picks in. I think these are really important picks for San Francisco because, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I do not like their draft. No. I do not like their draft at all. I don't understand the Patrick Bailey pick. I like Patrick Bailey as a player, but I don't understand the fit, and I don't understand why they wouldn't have gone for someone like Cade Cavalli there. And then Casey Schmidt, again, like the player, I think he's going to be a good hitter. I think he's going to be a big leaguer, but I just don't know if he makes sense for that park, and I don't know if he makes sense for what they need, but
he's a really good. They valued obviously, defensive ability. He's got some flexibility as a reliever as well. I don't mind the Schmidt pick there. I would have liked it more here, if I'm honest. But I guess it depends on what they can pull here. I didn't like the Bailey fit simply because they already went Bart, and I don't love Bailey's bat enough to be like stick him in left field, or he's a first baseman, or he's a guy that platoons and DHs or whatever. I don't like him enough because he's too much of a 3 true outcome guy for my particular tastes. But he's not bad,
but you're paying for
behind the plate is like a data driven, roto ump sort of catcher, which is all the rage in terms of analysis now. So I see how he fits there, but there are better guys on the board, and pitching is a need in that organization. And I'm a little shocked that they haven't gone there yet. Maybe they do here now with a couple of them.
Man, and really quick before we answer Mason's question here. He's tumbling and tumbling and tumbling.
The third or the fourth.
On the Patrick Bailey thing, you don't draft a guy 15th who is an elite catch and throw receiver of the ball. If you plan on moving him around the diamond, if you plan on DHing him, if you plan on playing him at first base. My only question is, did Joey Bart get bigger? Is he now like 6'4", 240? 6'4", 235? Because if that's the case, then all of a sudden you start saying, well, can that stay behind the plate? Does that have to move to first? I don't know. Maybe they just went for the best player on their board, but it sure was a weird fit.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Probably one of my least favorites. So,
yeah. So Casey Martin, where do you think he goes? Where do you think he falls?
Who is this?
Casey Martin.
I think Martin is a third rounder, maybe a fourth rounder. I wasn't huge. I had a feeling that maybe he could drop to Detroit with that second Detroit pick. But they ended up going Cabrera. I actually like Detroit's picks. Because I like Cabrera. I know I'm higher on him than most people are. And I really like that Dingler pick. They landed a couple of good players, and then obviously pairing that up with Torque. They've had a pretty good draft, and I didn't love their draft last year. I didn't like Quintana. I like Lipsius. And I did like Bryant Packard, but kind of across the board, they weren't great. But they've had some late round picks, and they've done well in terms of scouting the college ranks. So I'm not going to knock it too much. Swinney, wow, this is a great pick.
Good.
From what we just said, I think Nick Swinney is honestly, I thought he was the best college arm outside of JT Gannon with the injury stuff, but I thought that Swinney was the best college arm going in the second round. That's my.
I agree. No, I agree. I had
the first of the competitive balance round. I think this is a steal for San Francisco.
I had him and Kyle Nicholas as the two guys circled on my board for where are they going to go, because they're two of my favorite arms that have incredible spin rate data. They throw a ton of strikes, and they fit what San Francisco is looking for. So I think this is a great fit. Well, I hope they go college pitcher again here with the next one.
Same. I'd love to see a guy like Weatherly, who I think would be a great fit in that ballpark. Maybe Erla would be an interesting name here. Heck, I'd even like to see him go Luke Little. They have the money there to do it. If we're talking some college arms, maybe Mace is another guy that could be considered.
Jake Eater is still on the board.
Yeah,
Jake Eater would be a good one. Seth Lonsway would be a good one if you're sure.
Lonsway, very good. Yep.
Seth would be good if you're sure that he can stay in a rotation. I think he can. I've seen him pitch. All 4 pitches flash at least fringe average to me. So
Leftwich, maybe.
I think it's a little early for Leftwich, but if you believe in him and you believe in the Florida State program, why not? I'd take Mace over.
I think it's early for Leftwich as well, but I'm just trying to throw some names out there.
Yeah.
Seymour.
Yeah.
Kevin Abel. Did someone take a chance on Kevin Abel soon?
I don't know. He doesn't have big stuff at all, and he didn't pitch all year. He's still coming off injury. He feels to me like a 5th round pick, and he feels to me like an underslot 5th round pick. But hell, I mean, Landon Knack just went, so those guys have to come off the board.
And I wish San Francisco wouldn't have delayed on this, so could start to wrap up a little bit, get some picks in, not fill all this dead air.
Yeah, Ralph, you were up late last night doing some draft prep.
Oh,
another one to watch here. Just maybe they're about to announce, but Kyle Harrison. Let's just watch maybe the Bay Area strikes.
Interesting.
Jimmy Glowacki.
What do you got for me on Glowacki? I did not see him.
I like Glowacki. He's a bat first shortstop that may very well end up playing at second base and third base. More power than a lot of the guys at the position in this draft, but I have a hard time believing he's going to be able to stay at the position. He's that kind of college hitter that always produced year in and year out. He was at the Cape. I think he had a pretty good Cape where he hit something like 300 or 290. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, he's had Tommy John surgery, so sticking at the position, there's even more question marks there. But and he's not a great runner. So I think at the end of the day, you're looking at like another 55 hitter, 40 power, 45 power kind of guy, but kind of built like a Justin Foscue.
I think I actually did see Glowacki and just didn't edit his video. So that tells you how much he stuck out to me.
Well, there was a lot of guys.
He was playing a ton of short either because he was Xavier Warren and Alika Williams were there mostly early on when I was born. So
and I mean, there's
names though.
Trey Cruz, Hayden Cantrell, Nick Gonzalez. I mean, there was a good crop of middle infielders, and if Glowacki wasn't throwing from short, I would not be surprised if you didn't get footage of him.
Yeah, he wasn't at second either because Cody Morissette was at second a lot when I saw Bourne. So I'll have to go back on the footage and see what maybe they had him playing in the outfield or something like that. But interesting.
Yeah.
So Glowacki, there you go.
I don't hate the pick. I like the hitter, but there's big question marks of where he plays. Yeah. The Mets are about to make their selection. They got to go under slot, I would think. One would think. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, man, there we go. Isaiah
Green.
Great pick by the Mets. But they kill these drafts. So what do they do with them afterward is what the big question is. But great draft thus far by the Mets. It's a great pick in Isaiah Wynn. Isaiah Green. I really can't help you with that one. What are your thoughts on Green, Joe?
Well, he's got probably one of the top 3 or 4 hit tools for any prep in this class for me. I love the left-handed stroke. He's got a good arm. He's going to be able to probably play in a corner. I don't know if he stays in center field personally. But just if you're drafting a high school outfielder that's a lefty, you go after hit tools over everything. And this guy is very polished at the plate. I have no idea where New York is going to get this money.
I'd have to look at what their bonus pool is again. How low is it?
Their bonus pool?
They have picks and they have additional picks. So I think any of these teams that are like this 8 million range, I think have enough money to get it done. But
I think so too. I'm
correct.
just skeptical of the idea of taking 3 premier preps and then punting the next 2 because Ginn is going to cost. Ginn's going to be 2.5. From what I've heard,
they punted the next 37 last year.
Yeah, they did 37 picks in a row, more or less.
Hey, they got a senior superstar Jake Magnum there. He'd sell a couple of t-shirts and a couple of jerseys in Mississippi. You think the Tim Tebow of Mississippi?
I do like a good Mississippi State alum. He was a senior guy. He was a senior sign, wasn't he?
He was a senior sign. Very vocal about the paid third assistant in college baseball as well. I know it was kind of his shining moment. So we're waiting for the last 3 picks to come in here. That would be St. Louis at 70, the Nationals at 71, and then Houston at 72. That's all they get for that Garrett Cole signing is that lowly 72nd pick. That's Houston's first pick in this draft.
So let me run this
off for a little bit.
Let me run this by you really quick. So Pete Crow Armstrong had a pick value of 3.3, JT Ginn 1.4, and Isaiah Green $1 million. Cardinals Alec Burleson. Interesting.
Yeah. Green's brother, a late bloomer. Could see him. Yeah, there you go. Interesting stuff. All right, we're still waiting for these picks to come in. Alec Burleson at 70. Not bad. I don't know. I don't love it. He was on that Bourne team as well. We got a couple of Bourne Braves going 2 of the last 3 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't love him. I think it's a DH. I think it's a first base DH bat, but it's not a lot of juice in it. I didn't see him pitch. Maybe there's more there, but he is a 2-way guy. So maybe he's interesting from that angle. But I don't love his pick. I liked a lot of St. Louis's other picks. Maybe this is where they get the underslot.
Right. I'm thinking that's what it is. Yeah, I have him as a first base DH too. I have not seen him throw either. I would be stunned if they throw him in the outfield. He's being reported as a right fielder. I've never seen him play in the outfield.
I think I'll play left a little bit.
I guess everyone can play a little bit of corner outfield if you give him some time. But no, I mean, when you go Mason Wynn, you go Tink Hence, you go Jordan Walker, you got to make it up somewhere. And I think Alec Burleson is exactly what that is.
Perfect. Well, we're still chugging along here. We got a couple more picks before we sign off. So we're just waiting on, I believe the Nationals are on the clock.
And then Houston.
Oh, the round is Houston.
Yeah, I would watch for a big.
I appreciate that.
I would watch for a big prep at 72. I think they splash.
Let's bring in Chris Blessing.
I don't know what's been going on, so I literally have been talking to my wife, and that's been about it.
Let's get him up to speed. Burleson, Alec Burleson, Chris.
Okay.
Right back.
Chris, what do you? So, Chris, what are your thoughts on Alec Burleson? It seems like a little bit of a signing bonus catch-up pick.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me too. They had the draft earlier. The Cardinals picked Walker, and they also had who did they just pick again? See, I don't even have my stuff up yet. So
they took Mason Wynn, and then they took Tink Hence. So they're cleaning up.
Yeah, they're cleaning up. So they're going to need to save some money here, and this is the perfect place to save money.
So Sammy Infante, you get a chance to watch much Infante tape over the last year?
No, I have not. How about yourself?
Only in the last few weeks. He really didn't get on my radar until I talked to some people in his camp. There are teams that like him a lot. He's super projectable. He doesn't really have a carrying tool right now. Looking like a 45 hitter, maybe a 50 hitter. Not a lot of power in the tank, but should stick at the position, which as a shortstop, that's obviously what you're drafting. You want him to stick at the position. He's committed to Miami though, so don't make any assumptions that this is going to be a slam dunk.
Yeah, I mean, Washington's draft history so far, they should have some money left over, right?
Well, they took Cole Henry. Cole Henry, and I think he's going to be an over.
Okay.
and Cade Cavalli was before that, and you might be able to get a little discount on him. But no, I mean, all in all, Cade Cavalli and Cole Henry, those are two perfect Nationals arms, and you can't go wrong drafting up the middle. And I think that's what they've done here in Sammy and Fonte.
Yeah. Yeah, Ralph, you left it. I didn't know either of these players, so like I just kind of look like a deer to. I mean, I wasn't ready. I'll be honest. I saw that you were coming off, and I figured, hey, need to give Joe some help. But I think I was more of a hurt than a help. So
it's all right. We've had
what's up, Matt?
What's up, man? Finally got the kid to sleep.
Jumping off. We're wrapping up, Matt. We have last pick here. I think we're probably going to wrap up here at the end.
Okay.
The
Matt,
second rounds. We don't need to go all night.
Before this Houston pick comes in, you must be feeling pretty damn good.
Yeah, I didn't like the first pick, Jordan Walker, but Mason Wynn and Tink Hens. I'll take those two all day.
That's fun.
Randy Flores is a gambler, I guess. We figured that out.
You got another two-way guy too,
and Alec Burleson. Yes, I think you guys nailed the analysis on Burleson. I think he's, a left field, right field, first base, bench bat at peak.
Yeah, he might be a quad A guy.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean,
Houston,
I haven't seen him throw.
Does Houston take Blaze Jordan?
Oh God,
Alex Santos.
Yeah.
They've already done better than Boston, and they picked
Oh no, Santos, man, he's got some upside. Cold weather prep kid his dad owns like a pitching laboratory, so he's up to date on all that stuff, and
probably means you can't max him out though, right? Is that the sort of the downside of that, or maybe it means he's more familiar to it or receptive? There's positives and negatives.
Could go both ways. You're right.
Yeah, but he's a guy that had been rumored, as early as like the back end of the first competitive balance round, early second round for me. For him to sort of wrap up the compensation round, that's a good pick by Houston.
Might be their draft.
It's their only pick. Yeah.
They have a few more, right? It's just so far.
But the slot value of this pick is like $900,000.
I think it's under $1 million.
So they might have to overpay for Santos. He's committed to Maryland, which is not a powerhouse by any means. But I would think with his projectability, he would want more than $900,000.
One would think that they may go after some seniors here, simply because they don't have any funds. I think that's what we may see with some of these teams, and they're going to try to bump some guys down. Should be interesting what happens over the next several rounds. I'm going to sit down with a frosty cold beverage, some dinner. I'm going to enjoy some of those picks myself. And guys, I'll kick it over to you. Thank you, each and every one of you, for tuning in, watching all of our coverage throughout the last couple of days. Joe, anything you wanted to say? Thank you for joining me on the team previews, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. It was a lot of fun, and this draft was a lot of fun.
Fantastic job with everything, Joe. It's been awesome, man.
Yeah, Chris, man, thank you for joining in.
Yeah, go try.
Releasing some of your insider knowledge of the draft to all of us, please.
Go Tribe.
There you go.
Go Tribe.
Matt, anything you want to say? Any parting words before we sign off?
No, Ralph, you killed it this year on your draft coverage, man. Joe, previews were awesome. Chris, thanks for joining us, man. It's always good to get your opinion on anything. So especially baseball.
Even if I'm really confused.
Hey, because
I felt like the whole day I spent confused trying to fix things.
And you do a good job of.
And I finally got my setup, and we're going away.
Yeah, you do a good job of showing how nice you are on air, but people don't understand. You're one of the nicest guys I've met in the industry.
Well,
so it's been great to hang out with you in Arizona. You were great. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Look at this. 2-2. I feel like I'm Chuck Woolery over here with Love Connection. Most of the people in the room. All right. We're signing off. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next year. Try to cover some baseball in the meantime.